Just a heads up, there are some spoilers in here, you have been warned. After the release of Arcane, Jinx's and Vi's pick rate skyrocketed. At the same time, all of their win rates took a huge hit, which makes sense because most of the people playing them now are new to the champions. Both Jinx's and Vi's pick rate jumped about 3%, but then there's Jace who went from a 3.68% pick rate to a 12% pick rate, which is insane. The goggles you see on Vi's head used to belong to Clagger until, you know.
Triple kill.
Betrayal.
Oh, also, did you know that Jinx and Vi shared the same splash art background? The only difference is the city in Jinx's is destroyed. Guys, U.GG, the thing we use all the time, is now a desktop app. U.GG will make your life so much easier by helping you get the best builds and runes in Champ Select. You can scout all of the dirty data on who's gonna run it down on your team and who's gonna carry on the other team as well. On top of that, you can even track your live performance in-game with champion and role-specific benchmarks. And it doesn't even end there. At the end of the game, you can get post-game stats, including your LP earned per champion and match, which is pretty crazy. In the end, smarter data means better insights, so do yourself a favor and make your life as easy as possible when playing this game by downloading the U.GG app today. Thanks U.GG for supporting this channel. Jinx as a whole was inspired by both the Joker and Golem from Lord of the Rings. Here's a short animation done by ex-Riot employee Roar Nation of Vi taking down a turret. Riot really needs to add these into the game somehow. I mean, I kinda understand that in all competitive situations, this would kinda suck to have an animation this long, but they could add a button where if you press it, it'll do it if you want it to. Kinda like the assassinations in Halo. It's not really necessary, but it looks sick and you don't always have to do it. Teemo makes a debut in Arcane a few times. In Act 1, his shrooms are chilling next to the locked up Krugs, and in Act 2 we actually see a Teemo book being read. Speaking of which, Arcane is full of Easter eggs, and I'm not gonna get into all of them because there are already some videos out there, but I'll help point out a few of them. Like Gentleman Cho'Gath making an appearance in a picture frame, or Caitlyn's cupcakes being on the balcony. Another big place for Easter eggs was in Benzo's shop, where you could see Tryndamere's helmet above the door and also him holding the discontinued item, Heart of Gold. Jinx is the only champion to have all of her ability names end in an exclamation mark. Jinx's minigun was originally named Mr. Pew Pew and had a cat face painted on its gun cannon. Riot used to have a bulletin board where anyone could post or share ideas of new potential champions, and one of the illustrators, Katie D'Souza, posted this, which is the original art concept for Jinx. Jinx was also given the name Psycho Arsenal until finally given the name Jinx. In Jinx's original kit design, each of her basic abilities caused her to swap weapons, very similar to the way Udyr works with his forms. Her ultimate would also change depending on what form she had, kinda like Aphelios. But it turned out all of that swapping just meant you were mashing buttons for the whole game, and they weren't a fan of it. Also, here's a list of ultimates that almost made it into Jinx's kit. The first was called Drop the Hammer, which could activate a global cannon floating above the map, causing an oversized bomb to detonate on a target location. The second was called Homing Missiles, where Jinx would fire 6 missiles that automatically targeted enemy champions and chased them down. It was said that the reason this didn't make it in was because she kept using it during a playtest to kill bot lane, but also kept randomly killing the jungler as well. Can you imagine just peacefully killing camps and then a rocket out of nowhere just comes and hunts you down? Honestly, sounds like a Jinx thing to do. The third was called WTF Missiles, where Jinx would fire a massive amount of missiles in completely random directions. And the last was called Circle of Cats, where Jinx shot a bomb across the map and surrounded the enemy with smoke. And then anyone who went through the smoke was then transformed into a kitten, because I guess why not? Riot made an entire Arcane game where you can do missions and earn in-game rewards for Wild Rift, Runeterra, Valorant, and of course League. They also trolled the latest update because you can't get past this one yet and it's bugging the crap out of me. Arcane Vi has a different recall on Wild Rift than she does on PC. Looks like we're all getting scammed. I feel like we're now the older child and Wild Rift is the younger child getting all the attention. This Vi skin is a reference to Bakugo from My Hero Academia. When Vi was released, she was also released with her own theme song. In the Get Jinxed music video, you can see writing on the wall which says Nerf Heimerdinger. She also crossed out League of Legends and put Jinx. If you are watching Worlds, you probably saw the opening ceremony, or I guess in this case, opening video, where they'd walk you out into a real-life version of Zaun. Well, it turns out all of that is real, and Riot created an entire set for this. I mean, check out some of these photos. If you're enjoying, please consider poking that sub button. It seriously helps me out a lot. And of course, here's your puppy. Thanks, guys. Star Guardian Jinx Jinx was actually inspired by a fan-created skin concept. Neon Strike Vi's recall animation is a reference to Frankie's superpose from One Piece. Arcane was animated by Fortiche Productions, an animation studio in Paris. They were also the same company who animated Rise, KDA Popstars, and the Get Jinxed music video. Vi is voiced by Sia Court in League and Haley Steinfeld in Arcane, who is probably best known for being in Pitch Perfect. Jinx in the game is voiced by Sarah Ann Williams, who has done work in shows like SAO and Sailor Moon. The voice actress for Jinx in Arcane is Ella Purnell, and the voice actress for Young Jinx is Mia Sinclair Janess. Arcane was actually supposed to be released in 2020, but it was delayed until this year because of COVID. This person made a Jinx-inspired custom keyboard. Vi's ability Vault Breaker is a reference to breaking into bank vaults. Vigar. Vi's gauntlets were originally much darker and dented, poking fun at how beaten up they would have been due to the amount of doors she breaks on a daily basis. However, the darker and beaten up gauntlets looked terrible in the game and looked like small glitches, so they eventually got rid of it. Vi was originally going to be a regular enforcer. In fact, she was even called Enforcer at the time, but someone at Riot said, "OMG, I would roleplay the out of this," and so she was made into a champion instead. Vi's original W was called Come At Me, which was a spell shield that reflected back the first spell that hit her, and her E ability was called Crush, where she clapped her gauntlets together, dealing damage and slowing them, kinda like her crit animation today. Vi's ultimate, on the other hand, was honestly pretty similar to Smash Bros when you grabbed someone, in the sense that you got the choice of tossing them, punching them, or slamming them after. The 6 on Officer Vi is a reference to, well, herself, since Vi is 6 in Roman numerals. Similarly, in her Demon Vi skin, she has a VI on her leg, which is a reference to 666. You can see the item Turbo Chem Tank being used in the Act 3 trailer. The first time Jinx was actually shown was in Pool Party Renekton's splash art in the background. Of course, no one would have known it was her until after her release. There's a semi-secret loot page for Amazon Prime members that wasn't really advertised, where you can get free chests. The end of Act 1, where you can see Jinx's eye, is a reference to a painting called Fallen Angel, which itself is a reference to Lucifer being driven out of heaven. Seems like a clear connection and how this is such a big turning point in Jinx's life. According to the premiere, 65% of you were on Team Jinx and only 35% of you were on Team Vi. One of the hosts at the Arcane premiere was Chrissy Costanza, who was the same person who sang Legends Never Die at Worlds 2017. On Twitch alone, Arcane was watched by 1.7 million people, which is insane. On that note, Arcane also premiered around the world, not just in LA. For example, one of the places it debuted was in Egypt at the Pyramids of Giza. That looks like such a sick setup. In case you haven't caught on yet, there's a good chance Vander is Warwick. A lot of the quotes in League of Legends makes a lot more sense now after watching Arcane, like
Faces fading in the flames. It was all her fault. Jinx! All your fault! All your fault!
Riot built an entire Arcane-themed cafe in South Korea. I mean, look at this thing. This is crazy. They have an art gallery and everything. Who knew a video game could inspire a company to do something like this? You may have noticed, but Riot has done a lot of marketing for Arcane. This is hands down the biggest project that they have ever taken on and the most effort that they've ever put into something. It was being advertised at airports, NBA games, subways in Brazil, New York, chocolate bars, huge billboards in Moscow, Russia, popcorn, Burger King menus. Personally, I go for the Caitlin's Long Chicken, and of course, the largest, tallest freaking building in the world in Dubai. And it doesn't even stop there. They've partnered with Reddit, PUBG, Fortnite, and now Among Us as well. I think at this point, they're just making up partnership ideas. Needless to say, Riot's pockets were deep on this one, spending $15 million on marketing alone in October. Luckily for them, their strategy and 6-year journey paid off because, well, as you know, Arcane was good, and a lot of people thought so too. In fact, after only a few days and with only 3 episodes being released, Arcane reached the top spot on Netflix in 58 countries, and it's Netflix's best rated original series ever according to IMDb. It even passed Squid Game. I'm gonna go a bit off script here, but I gotta give a lot of credit to Riot for pulling this off. Besides having a great story and great animation, they did a lot right and made a lot of smart moves. Releasing Arcane in 20 languages at the same time was genius. That was a page right out of Squid Games. More languages just means bigger audiences, and it worked wonders for them. Having Arcane premiere on the same day of Worlds was probably stressful as hell, but super worth it. Releasing Arcane in acts instead of episodes was so freaking smart. I mean, think about it. If they just released episode 1, do you think the hype would have been anywhere close to what it was? I mean, sure, it was good, but the real kicker for people came in episode 3. It not only gave us more to get hyped up about, but it also gave us a ton of information on what Arcane is really about and really helped set the scene. This is especially huge for the people who have never heard of what League of Legends is, and to them it's just a good animation TV show that they found. I think people don't take into account how big of a deal the success of Arcane truly is. Sure, it's a huge win for Riot in the sense that they created an amazing show, but more importantly, it means that they have a bright future ahead of them. For one, there are 157 champions in this game. Each one of them could potentially have their own TV show just like Arcane. Okay, almost all of them. In fact, because of Arcane's overwhelming success, Riot has already announced that they're working on their next film with a new champion. Ultimately, more films mean more people coming to play Riot's games, including League of Legends. It wasn't too long ago that everyone thought League of Legends was a dying game, but nowadays, I think it's safe to say that it has a solid future ahead of it. So anyways, I just wanted to say, nice work, Riot. You did good. I'll give us all a chat back. Oh yeah, and before I go, I just wanted to drop one more big spoiler that I found. So if you haven't watched Arcane yet, then you really don't want to listen to this one until you have. Powder is actually Jinx. Okay, bye. A big shout out to Safe Risky and Josh for being tier 3 patrons. You guys rock. And thank you to all my other patrons as well. Peace.